I'm getting sick of this rat's nest of wiring here for my lighting setup, and today I'm going to be doing something about it. This is just no good. I've got fuses and relays all over the place, and it's just, as of now, it's only for two lights. I got one on the roof and one on the bumper. So, what I'm doing today is the folks at Auxbeam sent me this AR-600 switch panel, and I'm going to be using this to clean up the wiring in the engine bay. And they sent me this t-shirt too. Nice people. So I'm going to be installing this today in the 4Runner, and this is going to allow me to be able to run some extra wiring. I want to do some chase lights in the back of the rack here, and other accessories too. I might do some onboard air, I don't know. Who knows what we're going to do? Maybe a winch, I don't know, but we're going to need more power for accessories, and this is going to make a very easy, streamlined way of connecting new electronics to this truck. So let's take a look at everything that comes in the box here. Obviously, for starters, we have our fuse box, and this is going to eliminate the need for separate fuses and relays on all of your accessories. So right now, part of the reason why I have that mess in my engine bay is because I have a fuse and a relay for each light. With this, now it's as easy as you just put a new positive into this fuse box, and you have power that's fused and a relay going to whatever accessories you need. It's all built into here, which is super convenient. This is our switch panel. This is our push buttons, and we can put any of these stickers on. You can see there's a whole bunch, I think it's like 60 different icons that you can stick on there depending on what accessories you're wiring up to it. They just stick on over top, and then they're backlit. You can also adjust the color of the backlighting on this to match your OEM lighting in your dash and stuff if you want. This is our breaker switch. I am a big fan of this because if something shorts out, something goes wrong, this guy's just gonna pop, and you just kind of pop in your engine bay and there you go, you're running again. No need to replace a blown fuse or something if something goes bad. These are your power and ground cables, and so obviously we're going to have power going from the battery to the breaker, and then from the breaker to the box, and then the negative just goes to the battery. This is a cool thing too. This is the only wiring that is going to go from this unit into the cabin. So you don't have to worry about running a whole bunch of wiring through your grommet and your firewall. We just have this one little harness, just a skinny little guy here. That's what we're going to run through there. What else have we got? We've got some mounting brackets. We have two choices for the actual switch panel here. You can either flush mount it, and this just bolts onto the back, so you have a bolt on each side that you can connect it. Or you have this, which is the same idea, but it's just extended a little bit, and you can angle it, so you can get whatever angle you want to have it. So if you don't want this sitting flush on something, you can have it tilted, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know what I'm going to do about mounting this yet. I'm a big fan of the way that I have it set up right now, to be honest, because I've shown this before. If my hand and my arm is resting on the armrest here, my light bar buttons are right here. Super convenient, really comfortable. I'm not reaching all the way up under the dash to turn them on and off. I'm a big fan of that, and so I'm not really sure how I'm going to mount this switch panel. Ideally, I would really like to stick it here somehow, so more on that later. I'm going to figure that out. I don't like the idea of banging around by my knees trying to turn my lights on and off, so might be a little required creativity there. This is an add-a-fuse. So this is your switched, that's actually what this is. This is your switched wire. You connect it to one of these add-a-fuses, and that's what's going to trigger this to turn on. The idea is you want to tap into a fuse in your OEM fuse box that is triggered by accessory power. So when you have the key in the ignition and it's turned to accessory, that's going to turn all this stuff on. Otherwise, the lighting on this is always going to be on, and it's just going to drain your battery. So we're going to use this. I think we're probably going to be tapping into the cigarette lighter fuse in the interior fuse box, which is in the driver's footwell. Problem is, that's where my Raptor lights are connected and getting power to, guys. So I think you can kind of see the future there. You can see the writing on the wall. The time has come. We got a bunch of zip ties here that they give us too. First of all, this is a very thorough setup. Like they give you a lot of stuff here to make this work. Case in point, look at this guy. This is a little clear plastic cover or rubber, whatever this is, that you stick on over top of this if there's a chance of it getting wet. So if you have like a Jeep with the top off or like a side-by-side or something like that, you can pop this on, and that's gonna maybe not seal it up and make it waterproof, but it's gonna help to keep water from getting inside. This, I kid you not, Please use cover in rain and snow, car wash, or surfing at the beach. Surfing at the beach. Okay, aside from that, we have our hardware for our brackets, and we have two different options for mounting this guy in the engine bay. Well, I guess three options. You can use this one. You can use this one if you have some holes that are going to line up like on your inner fender well or something like that. Or you can do what I'm probably just going to do and use the existing tabs on each end, and I'm just going to screw this into the lid of the fuse box. Just use short enough screws to make sure that they're not going to go in and touch anything. Also, check this out. They have some of the highest quality instructions I think I've ever seen on an aftermarket product. And so this is showing you kind of how you're going to wire it up with the battery, the breaker, and then everything. This is really thorough with nice color pictures. Like, this is really impressive. Like, for once, I'm looking at something going, oh yeah, it's very well laid out. Even back here, they have, I think it's on the last page, they even have some ideas for where to mount the switch panel and the fuse box as well. In case you're stuck, they have a couple of examples of what other people have done. So anyways, awesome job on the instructions here. Even an idiot like me should be able to hook this up. And I guess we should probably start by ripping the old setup out of this thing, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I went ahead and popped this center console out real quick. This just clips in, by the way. There's no screws or anything. You just pop it out. I'm going to pull these old buttons out, and also the downhill assist button. If I can't use this, I'm not too concerned. I never use DAC anyways. I don't think it's useless in these vehicles. So now that I have these three buttons out, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to mount this kind of in a similar location to where I had those buttons. And this actually, if you look at it, it's almost the perfect size. So I think that's a great place to go with this. And now it's just a matter of figuring out how I'm going to attach it here. So I do have this guy that might make sense to try and figure out a way of mounting this where these buttons used to be. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit and just see what I can come up with. Might get lucky and things just line up. So we'll see. Okay, well, I'm an idiot, and I just spent the last hour or so looking for a nut that has dropped in the engine bay because I was rushing. Folks, don't rush when you're working on cars, man. This is such a waste of time. I got it. Luckily, I've been fishing around with a magnet for a while. I got it. I got all the old stuff out, and check out how much crap I pulled out of there. We got a whole bunch of wiring and 2 fuses, 2 relays, 2 switches. All of this is staying out. We don't need to use this anymore. So this is a much more simplified way of doing this. Honestly, I think I spent way more time pulling the old stuff out of here than I'm going to spend putting the new stuff in, because this is going to be a really simple install. The good news is I was Captain Smart Guy when I pulled all the old wiring through the firewall. Before I did that, I taped the new stuff on and used it kind of as my fisher. So I ran, this is the one that is going to the switch panel, and this is where I'm going to be getting my accessory power. I'm going to put the add a fuse on, and that's going to go into this fuse box right here. So luckily I was smart enough to connect those to drag them through the grommet and the firewall instead of having to do that all over again. So smart for doing that, dumb for dropping the nut. It's the way she goes, boys. Frickin' way she goes. Okay, so I went ahead and mounted the fuse box to the OEM fuse box panel, and also the breaker switch up top too. And I just used the self-tapping screws that they included. I checked, and I don't think that these screws are touching anything inside, any of the fuses or relays inside. They just barely puncture through the plastic. But I messed around with it quite a bit and made sure that they're not touching. There's no marks on any of the fuses from these, and no matter how hard I push on this. So I think we're good. So I think I'm going to connect the positive to this positive, and then we can put the whole thing into the engine bay. Okay, so we're pretty much done under the hood here. We have the fuse box mounted, we have the breaker mounted, we have all the wiring run. This is the wire from the roof light bar going right into the back here. And then I have the wire from the bumper light bar. It's coming around, tucked around in here, and then it comes back in. All the wiring mounts into the routes into the back here. As you can see, actually I'll show you. Pop the cap off. Super clean, no connections required for adding accessories. You just screw them in, essentially. You can see that I think I have this wired correctly. Mine looks a little bit different than the diagram, my breaker switch. But so we're coming off of the battery on the switch part, and then the part that has the reset button comes straight to the positive of the fuse block here. Sorry, right here. I think that's right. We'll see if it works when I fire it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the proper way of doing it. I have the negative routed to my battery terminal. I still have to connect the battery again. But anyways, that's kind of what we got going on there. So far, nice and clean install. I like it. So I have the wiring routed into the cabin the way that I needed to. And it came in the usual grommet and the firewall, of course. That's where pretty much everybody brings everything into the cabin. I went behind the pedals in the carpet, and then I tucked it up into the center console up in here, which then just pops up inside here. Super easy to get at. And I just tied up the extra slack because this isn't really a cable that I can make connections and stuff with. So next up, we have two more things to do. We have to mount the actual switch panel, which I'm going to do on the console here. And we have to get our constant power, well, constant with the accessory on power, from this fuse box in here. So right now, I already have an added fuse in here, the cigarette lighter fuse. That's for the Raptor lights. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the Raptor lights are going, guys. I'm replacing them with something that is actually functional on this vehicle, which is going to be a cool kind of floating looking switch panel right here. So I haven't really seen anybody mount it like that before. I'm going to see if I can do something a little unique here. Okay, so we got everything plugged in here in the interior now. I have my add fuse added right here to the cigarette lighter fuse, which is a 10 amp right there. So that's gonna switch this whole system on when the ignition is turned on. We have the center console back together now with our mount here, and nice and sturdy, doesn't flex at all, which is something I was a little bit concerned about. Super sturdy, can't really see the wiring or anything in there. It's all kind of tucked in behind The wire actually goes through one of the holes for the buttons that were there before. I know some of you are going to be asking me about the DAC button, and honestly, I don't use it. I've tried it before. I think it's useless. I would rather not use it if I'm off-roading anyways. And I didn't want to leave it disconnected because I wasn't sure if that was going to have a light on in the dash or something. So what I ended up doing was I actually connected the button back to the connector, and I hid the whole button inside the console here. So it's still connected as if it was right here, but it's just not there. So anyways, we just have to connect the battery now, and I got to put a sticker on here for whichever ones I want to use. Let's see if this thing works. Key in the ignition. There we go. Okay, so we got green lights. We want to change that to orange to match the dash lights, but let's see what we got. The second one, that's our bumper light bar. Cool. And this first one, that's our roof rack light bar. We can put them both on at the same time, like so. And then if you use this button, it'll turn them both off at the same time. You can turn them back on too, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so next up, now this is working properly, and I think this angle looks pretty good. I'm going to download the app on my phone because that's how you're able to control the color and all the different features that come with this. And so you just scan this barcode in the instructions, and then it tells you how to go ahead and hook everything up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, that was super easy to connect. You just follow the on-screen instructions. So check this out. We've got full control of this guy on the app. So we can change the color, what we want. It's not really showing up properly on the camera here. But yeah, you can change this. You can adjust how dim and how bright it is. Very cool. So I'm going to set this to match the OEM kind of gauge lights. I think maybe something like that. So that kind of matches in there. Now check this out. You can actually control all of your accessories on your phone. So we can turn the roof light bar on and off. We can turn the bumper light bar on and off. How cool is that? Turn them both on and then both off. Very cool. And you can adjust like what you want these icons to say and stuff. There's a whole bunch of different options so you can make them match the stickers that you put on, which leads me to my next mission here. We need to put these stickers onto the switch panel. All right, guys, the color is still not really showing up properly on the camera, but I have it matching almost identical to the gauge cluster now. And then I also have the orange lights on the head unit. Everything is all kind of the same color. Again, this is showing up a little bit differently for some reason. This is much darker in person. But yeah, I put my stickers on, and as you can see, looks nice and clean. Can't see any wiring going to it for the most part, at least not from the perspective of the driver. I like it, and it's solid too. You can push on it real hard, and it's not going to flex or wiggle. Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool upgrade. I already put another sticker on this one just because I am going to put some chase lights on the rack eventually, and so I thought I may as well just go ahead and put that on there. These ones I put blanks on just because I'm not sure what I'm going to use those for yet, and to be honest, it'll probably be a while before I add anything else to it. So we have one more order of business here. All right, guys, the Raptor lights are gone. I tried. It's just not for me. I like a cleaner, classier look, and it's official, guys. The Raptor lights are no more. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you.